A Dutch court has sentenced jihadist bride Hasna A, that they don't give us the full name, to 10 years in prison. Okay, keep this in mind. 10 years in prison for enslaving a Yazidi woman while living under ISIS rule in Syria, in a chilling case of modern day slavery and extremist brutality. Hasna, who left the Netherlands in 2015 to join the Islamic State with her 5-year-old son, so she kidnapped her son to ISIS, forced the Yazidi woman, who identified only as Z to protect her identity, to cook, clean, and care for her child while knowing full well that she was a part of ISIS's campaign to genocide the Yazidi people. Quote, I begged her to let me call my son, but that was not allowed, the victim testified, describing how ISIS fighters had taken her child to a jihadist training camp. So, this Yazidi woman who was their slave was begging them, oh, please let me talk to my son, who they kidnapped to go forcibly go into the ISIS training camp. I mean, this is a nightmare. Um, Judge Jacco Snoeijer, I don't know, condemned Hasna's role in the quote widespread and systemic attack on the Yazidi community, emphasizing that crimes against humanity like this rank among the most serious international crimes there are. Hasna, repatriated to the Netherlands in 2022 along with other ISIS brides, still clings to extremist views. Yet she claims innocence, insisting she lived withdrawn into my own room. The court didn't buy it, sending a clear message that ISIS's crimes will not go unpunished. This is still pretty insane to me because, like, no offense. I mean, I don't know. I'm saying no offense. I think 10 years is like nothing. You're telling me you get 10 years for, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Defecting. For defecting to ISIS? Like, marrying a terrorist, kidnapping your son to Syria, participating in the enslavement of a woman from a community that's being genocided, and you get 10 years, and she's still an extremist. 10 years is nothing. 10 years is nothing. Like, there was a situation where there was another victim of her and her husband, but that victim's testimony had some issues, and there are many allegations that were way, way more severe, but they didn't stand up in court, so they were not included. But there are other allegations against her that are much more severe. Okay, whatever, tried in court. She gets 10 years. 10 years is nothing. And to be honest, the only thing I have to say about this when I was researching this situation, I was like, you know what? As much, and I'm going to be honest, when we were talking about the whole Shamima Begum situation that happened with the UK stripping her citizenship and now she's stateless, um and she has nowhere to be repatriated to, and she lost her case. And there were lots of people who were like, "Yeah, we don't want any of these ISIS people back. Period. I don't care. Strip their citizenship. I don't care. Out of international law, you can't make someone stateless. I don't care. Leave them there." And to be honest, if you're gonna take someone back, repatriate them, try them in court, and they only get 10 years, I can't blame anyone for feeling that way. I honestly can't. I honestly can't. You're telling me that this lady's gonna go back into Dutch society within 10 years? Free? In 10 years? For doing this? No, I really cannot blame a single person for being like, "No, strip their citizenship, fucking leave them in Syria." I don't care. I don't I cannot criticize someone who feels that way. I really can't. And that's basically my only commentary on this.
Well, I mean, I could challenge you on that, but I'm not gonna because right now I want to make sure that we don't go overtime today. But I don't like the I don't like the idea of being able to. I think if making the punishment harsher to me would be ideal. I don't like the idea of being able to take citizenship is such an important part of what defines a nation state. and I don't want to create a two-tier system that some citizenship can be taken away and some of it. You have to be more careful with who you give your citizenship to begin with, and the punishments need to be harsh for anything related to terrorism, so that we don't end up in a situation where a lot of people want to be able to take citizenships away. I think the solution should have been from the beginning, where these types of people don't even get citizenship. So just
She could be
normalizing
born
the
in the
idea.
Netherlands for all I know. I actually
Well,
don't know
then
what her background is.
yeah, but then her parents, her that entire community shouldn't have been allowed in there, so that she could have been born there. Anyways, I'm just saying that the solution should have been implemented much earlier on, so we're not in such a position that this is being argued. The idea of taking citizenships away is such a attack to the foundation of what makes a society, what makes a nation state possible, that I don't know what the consequences is going to look like. But
Sure.
I would, yeah. Anyways,
No, and I completely
th-
understand all that. I'm just saying I
well,
genuinely cannot bring myself to like be finger wagging at people that are like, no, freaking take their shit. Let
no,
them
yeah,
die.
but
I don't care.
okay, but if you're saying I understand why people want their yeah, so your point is like I understand why people would want that, and I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I
I
can't
agree
bring
with you.
myself to be like, oh no, I know better. Like, you know what I mean? Like this person is gonna be
Right.
back in their society in 10 years. Who knows what she's capable of? Who knows who she will influence? Who knows who she will radicalize once she's free? Because once she's
Mm,
served her sentence, she's free. I'm assuming you can't do double jeopardy in in the Netherlands. You can't keep her longer past her sentence
yeah. Mm.
for participating in the Yazidi genocide. Are you out of your mind? Yeah.
Would this apply if you can take if somebody participated in such a um certain crimes that are, above other crimes, for example, like genocide or slavery, right? And those crimes are so high that makes one deserving of removing their citizenship away. Would that apply to all citizens? So what, like, would this apply to somebody who's native from that land as well, um and they don't have a citizenship anywhere else? Like,
Yeah,
let's say, for
sure.
example, what? Okay,
Why not?
so like a white Dutch person that is
Personally,
participate.
me, I could like go for it.
Okay, okay, like, okay, yeah, yeah. Again, we have to talk to a legal expert about this. I
Bring
think it
back
looks something.
exile. I'm not being serious,
I,
guys. Yeah,
yeah.
Dia saying, is it fair to make your radicalized another country's problem though? No, to be fair, like the Kurds get the short end of the stick. They have to deal with this hellish fucking radicalized terrorist attack waiting to happen
Who?
refugee camp called Al Hol, which is fucking hell on earth. The shit that goes down in Al Hol is insane because we refuse to deal with what's happening there and we just let the Kurds kind of like do whatever they can with it. We're basically waiting for another whole generation of kids being radicalized in that environment to grow up and do God knows what. Like it's a massive failure in every single sense all the way across the board. So I think it's completely unfair to them. And I'm not actually making an argument in favor of this. I'm just saying if someone had this feeling of like no, I don't care, I don't want them in my country, fuck the consequences, take away their citizenship, they don't deserve it. I cannot be like, well, that's so bad. I can't bring myself to like be what's the word for it? Like finger wagging for lack of a better term. I don't know.
Okay, so
10 years?
by the way, Susie, we might need to talk about certain, again, hashtag not all, Kurds in Syria. Okay, because I think a lot of us have been lied to about what some of these groups represent, right? Especially by American leftist YouTubers who like these groups because of their Marxist these the group in Syria called the Syrian Democratic Forces, run by the YPG, is actually connected to the PKK, which is a genuine terrorist group themselves, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
just
No,
people,
I'm not acting
okay,
like
I
any
know,
like
I
you know.
know. I just want people to know here that the ties between the Kurdish group in Syria to genuine terrorist groups is real, even though America is backing the SDF, and even though Turkey is an Islamic country, they be right about this. Okay, so
Well, that's a
me
different.
as a liberal, so yeah, me as a liberal might you might think that Armin is a liberal who he usually defends the United States, which is a liberal country, against Erdogan, who's an Islamist. But on this one point, Erdogan's being upset with the United States for backing a terrorist group called the SDF, a terrorist connected group called the SDF. Turkey be right. United States is on the wrong side of this. Okay, this is a Marxist terrorist group. Okay, yeah, Dia is saying there are terrorists though. Yeah, sure.
No, but that
Right.
really is
So
how it works. That really is how it
yeah,
works,
yes. Yes.
dude.
Okay.
Um, Les is smiling, saying, "Fine, Dad. Armin ruins all the fun." No, but she's joking. Like, what you're
Yeah, yeah.
saying makes sense.
Mm. Oh wait, did we do the comments? Let's do the comments here.
No,
Oh yeah, this one is agreeing with you. Only 10
yeah.
years, not enough.
Life in
Okay,
prison. Throw
so
her under the jail. I
issues.
don't care.
Yeah, so people are agreeing with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a super chat by Carl. You want to read that one?
Carl gave a super chat. Thank you, Carl. Saying, I think Kant said a nation is people ruled by the same law. Different law, aka Sharia, different nation. By the way, Happy New Year's. Thank you, Carl.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
thank you. Happy New Year to you.
I get what you're saying. Like if people are like, "Oh, calling Muslims a fifth column is so hateful and xenophobic and ratata." Okay, but if you're literally operating within Sharia councils and not like observing the legitimacy of British law, is that not basically like a fifth column? Like, um,
I we got another super.
Dan gave a super chat saying, "When did this idea of being white begin? I don't think Europeans during ancient time had such ideas. Alexander the Great, Romans, Crusaders, medieval Europeans, none of them claimed being white. No, of course not. Um,
Colorism
Look,
was a
I
thing
have an
though.
American perspective on this. I think this is like an American invention. Americans have such a weird, bizarre racial categorization system and conception. Frankly, I think our very weird idea of this got exported around the world. Cuz I know many Europeans that do not conceive of themselves in the way that white Americans conceive of themselves. It's only recently that that's been pushed on everyone.
But colorism, okay, there was no white identity, but colorism was a thing historically.
Sure,
Okay.
but he's saying white like with the parentheses.
Yeah, we had like, I don't know, Roman identity and then the French identity or the British identity, okay, Anglo identity, Italian identity. We didn't have a white identity. We had all these different identities. So the white identity as we see it today didn't exist historically, sure, but colorism was always a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, always has been. And across
Yeah.
societies before intervention of different colonizers across the world.
Yeah.
It's actually very interesting how consistent it is as a form of human behavior, even within
Hmm.
within ethnicities to have colorism. I'm very curious about it. Like, why is that so consistent across all peoples, across all
because,
time, without foreign
because humans
interference?
are, because you know how dogs are very centered their understanding of the world on scent.
Uh-huh.
Humans are very visual, right?
Sure.
So just in the same way that a dog's philosophy of understanding the world is very scent focused, a human's understanding of the world, their philosophy is very visual. So that's why.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but I just this idea that it seems to me, I mean, I'm no historian, that across peoples, across cultures, across continents, and across time, even within ethnic groups, lighter skin has been preferred. It's just
Yes.
a
Yeah.
pattern that
Yeah.
was repeated over and over again. It's interesting. Like, why?
Well, because if you are outside, that means you're working. If you're inside, you are probably upper class that get the luxury of not going out and working in the field. So so whatever color you are, the suntan will add a few level of darkness to it. So I'm guessing by the way, historically, people who were upper class, they stayed inside more often rather than working in the field, so they were a few shades lighter.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with that. Just sometimes I worry if it really is. I wonder, is it really that simple? I don't know. I'm sure for many societies that's been the case. Um,
Mm.
okay, Dan gave a super chat saying, Armin, why do you think Zoroastrianism suffered such a heavy blow from Islam? There are still Christian minorities in the Middle East, same with Hindus in Pakistan. There are just 200,000 Zoroastrians left now.
Because it's not Ibrahim. Because when Islam took over Iran, because they were not considered Abrahamics, right? They were not considered. So Judaism and Christianity are considered the people of the book. Islam considers them as inferior, but still within the same family, right? So they have protection status. They will be humiliated. They will live as second class citizens, but they will be protected. Jews and Christians will be under Islam. Jews and Christians should be treated as second class citizens who are still protected by Islam. But no other religion enjoys that protection. Everything else is arguably needs to be annihilated. Jews and Christians are not to be annihilated, but only to be treated as second class citizens
No,
because
my
they're
understanding is that, and I could be wrong, but in Zoroastrian orthodoxy, it's not evangelizing. That you actually have to be born into it, and you have to
but
marry within it. And so that's
mm,
a. I was reading an article recently about how the Parsi population in India is having a very difficult time sustaining membership enough to even run its own religious community, versus Zoroastrians that have emigrated to the US are taking a much more liberal approach where they actually let people kinda convert, they let people join, they're more liberal on intermarriage, and so they're actually being more successful over in
but
the United States because 'cause they're not as orthodox. So if you're not allowed to bring more people in, like, yeah, you can dwindle.
yeah, but we still have Jewish minorities, and they don't evangelize. I mean, Christians don't evangelize in Islamic countries, anyways. They can't.
Yeah, they
They're
do.
not allowed.
Some do. I know people who have been
Yeah,
evangelized to in Muslim
but it's
countries.
a, okay. Well, sure, sure. But yeah, Zoroastrianism is not. I think it's mostly because Zoroastrianism is considered to be not Ahlul Kitab or people of the book, so it's considered lower tier than. It's interesting because as anti-Jewish as Islam is, it's still more anti-Hindu and anti-Zoroastrianism than anti-Judaism, right? Because they're idol worshippers or fire worshippers.
Yeah.
According to, they're not fire worshippers, by the way. According to Islam, they're fire worshippers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Um, sorry, was that something else you wanted to say?
no, but I just want to say that when Muslims invaded Iran, Persia at that time, the the Sassanid Empire. There was a disagreement whether they are the people of the book or not, because they had a book and they didn't have idols, right? So they're like, can we maybe not kill these people? That would be too costly, right? But when some people are like, oh no, these are mushrik, these are idolaters, they worship fire, and they're not the Abrahamic, so they're not part of our family. But people are like, well, they have a book and they don't have idols, so maybe we could make an argument that they are people of the book. So there was some arguments between Muslims whether they are people of the book or not. But once they passed Iran and they reach India, they're like, oh no, these people are
Look,
definitely
this
idol
is too
worshippers.
far, man.
This is idol
I
worship.
cannot
Like
turn a
this is
blind eye to this one.
that's why we have mountains called Hindu Kush. That's why they went. That's why we have mountains literally named after killing Hindus. And Muslims, when they reach India, they went all choppy choppy. The numbers are insane. If you look at the
Yeah.
number of Hindus killed by Muslims when they reach India, it's
Yeah.
astronomical.
It's
Is the
unfathomable.
name of those mountains to this day is Hindu Kush, which means killing Hindus. Yeah.
I Jesus. We got another super chat from Dave saying there are Roman emperors of Arab North African origin, so clearly white Europeans did not see them as the other.
What? What is this?
I don't know. I think it's I don't know.
North
Um
Africa. So clearly, white Europeans did not see them as other. What do you mean they did not see them? There were Roman emperors of Arab, North African origin. So clearly, white Europeans did not see them. They definitely saw everybody else. That I don't know what your first part of the sentence means, but if everybody saw everyone else as others back then. I don't know what you're talking about. Every group of people saw every other group of people as other back then. That was the norm for everyone.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um Roman Noresi. God forbid people in the ancient civilizations were racist. Oh my god, let me clutch my pearls. This comment from Cat Lady I thought was so funny, saying we do not evangelize, but we don't need to. We control everything anyways. We can just bring the rain or
True.
something. And I thought this was funny because I sent Armin a tweet I saw today, which made me laugh so hard.
Like,
And the tweet is, imagine there's a guy who thinks the Jews control the world, but isn't anti-Semitic because he thinks they're doing a good job.
yeah. Yes. The Jews are controlling the world, and we approve.
Yeah.
Things look great. Thank you. I mean, that's what I've said. I literally met some Yahtzees in Vancouver. I went to a gathering, and I was telling them, like, they were like, "Oh, the Jews control the world." I'm like, "Well, things are improving. Shouldn't we be thanking them? Like, everything is getting better."
Is it so bad? Is it really so bad?
Like, keep at it.
Yeah, yeah. But they're just doing a good job, so I'm fine with it. Um, Dan gave a super chat saying idol worship in Hindi and Urdu is called Bud Parasti, which is based on
But
so many
parasti. Yeah.
Bud Parasti, which is based on so many Buddha statues that Muslims encountered and they destroyed in India, which is
I don't think
based
that's true.
on what does that I don't even understand the sentence, to be honest.
I don't think that's the origin of the word. But parasti comes from Buddhism. I don't think so. But because the actual word that we use in Persian is not bud, it's but with a T, not a D. So I don't know. Maybe you're right, maybe you're not. Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do. And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.